So what we'll do is we'll have a look at how we can find everything in the shoulder from the spine and the scapula. So if we slide our hand over, there's the spine and the scapula. So if we identify that, if we run to the lateral aspect, it's going to give us the acromion. If we move forward from that, it's going to give us the anterior aspect, it's going to give us the ACJ, it's going to give us the clavicle. Now if we move lateral, we know that the medial border of the scapula is at 90 degrees to the spine. So I slide across the spine, drop my hand at 90 degrees, that's going to give me the medial border there. So if I slide on up to the superior angle, that's going to give me the attachment of levator scapulae there. And we know levator scapulae is coming from the transverse process of C1 to 4. So we find the mastoid process, we drop down, transverse process C1 to 4. If we find the spine sliding over to the medial border, that's going to be rhomboid minor. Rhomboid minor is going to be running C7T1, so we know it's going to be here. Slide along the medial border, slide along the scapula, sorry, drop onto the medial border, and the medial border below the spine and the scapula to the inferior angle, and then move over T2 to T5. That's going to give us rhomboid major. Now, if we want to find the muscles on the lateral aspect, we've got the teres group, and we've got infraspinatus below the spine and the scapula. So if I just drop the arm out to about 90 degrees here, find the spine again, that's my reference point, slide along to the medial border, drop my hand at 90 degrees, slide down to the inferior angle, rest my thumb against the lateral border here, so now I've got the scapula. All I'm going to ask you to do, point your fingers down to the ground and then just push it against my leg there. And if I slide my finger over, there's teres major there, just relax there. Now, if I slide along the spine and the scapula to the acromion there, that's the posterior deltoid. The thing above teres major is teres minor. The thing up inferior to the spine and the scapula is infraspinatus. So if I just mark that space there, half that space there, that'll be teres minor. That'll be infraspinatus. Now, if I want to find infraspinatus as a muscle in itself, if I find the spine and the scapula, slide along to the lateral aspect, slide along to the medial aspect, drop my hand on the medial, slide along to the middle of the scapula, go to the inferior angle, mark thirds there, that's going to be the belly of infraspinatus, that's what your trigger point is going to be. Find the spine and scapula, slide across the top of that superior angle here. What we've got here is supraspinatus, that's running along. We've got supraspinatus, we've got spine and scapula, then we've got the acromion, supraspinatus going through there. You can also find the deltoid, spine and the scapula here, drop down to the superior posterior axillary fold, draw a line across here. We've got long border palpation again, sliding up, there's your posterior deltoid. Slide across here to the edge of the acromion. This is your mid fibers of deltoid coming across here. If we just track that forward to the anterior aspect of the acromion, there's your mid fibers, and then the anterior fibers are running on the lateral third of the clavicle. So if we just move across there onto the clavicle, it's going to be in there, and then we can do trapezius, spine and the scapula to the acromion, slides on up here to the base of the neutral line here. That's your upper fibers from the spine across here. There's your mid fibers. From the spine down to the inferior aspect of the thoracic, that are your lower fibers of trapezius. Here we go. You okay?